Hello, welcome. Today we're exploring diabetes and ADHD. Though different, their paths often cross, creating unique challenges. Imagine managing diabetes with ADHD's focus struggles. It demands strength and a unique healthcare approach. Modern medicine recognizes interconnected bodies. We'll unravel this relationship, exploring symptoms and the science connecting diabetes and ADHD. Our goal? Build awareness, empowering healthier, happier lives through knowledge and integrated strategies. So why is it so important to talk about the link between diabetes and ADHD? The answer is simple. Because recognition is the first step towards effective management. When you are living with symptoms that affect both your body and your mind, it can be incredibly isolating. Without considering the possibility of underlying ADHD, this might be misinterpreted as a lack of motivation. This simple act of looking deeper can completely change the approach to care. Furthermore, the connection is not just about symptom overlap, it appears to be rooted in our biology. By exploring these scientific frontiers, we can move beyond simply managing symptoms and start to understand the root causes. Ultimately, this conversation matters because it is about people and validating the struggles that many face in silence. This knowledge can transform a journey of frustration into a journey of empowerment. This essay is a clear and straightforward guide. We will move step by step, building our understanding so you never feel lost. We will cover diabetes and ADHD, including symptoms and impact on daily life. Then, we'll explore the overlap between the two conditions, including shared factors like brain chemistry. Finally, we'll share real-life stories and practical advice to empower you on your health journey. If you see yourself or a loved one in this, please know you are not alone. Living with chronic conditions can be isolating. A vast community shares this journey, offering strength and comfort. This essay aims to illuminate a path forward, offering knowledge and self-compassion. Every step towards a stable life is a victory. Be kind to yourself, find strength and resilience, and read with an open heart. Let's begin this journey with hope, knowing you're part of a community that understands. Let's demystify diabetes. At its core, diabetes is a chronic condition affecting how your body turns food into energy. Insulin, a hormone, unlocks your body's cells to allow glucose to enter and be used for energy. In diabetes, this system malfunctions, leading to glucose buildup in the bloodstream and high blood sugar. Over time, this can cause serious health problems. Diabetes isn't one size fits all, it's a spectrum with different types requiring varied management. The fundamental challenge is managing blood glucose levels within a healthy range. It involves balancing food, activity, and medication. It's a complex disorder requiring continuous management. Understanding glucose and insulin's roles is the crucial first step. This knowledge transforms it into a manageable condition. Let's break down the two main types of diabetes, type 1 and type 2. Type 1 is an autoimmune disease. Your immune system destroys insulin-producing cells, so you need daily insulin to survive. It usually starts in young people and isn't caused by lifestyle or diet. Type 2 is much more common. Here, your body becomes resistant to insulin, often due to genetics, weight, and inactivity. Type 2 can sometimes be managed or even reversed with healthy habits, but many still need medication or insulin. Both types lead to high blood sugar, but their causes and treatments are very different. Type 1 diabetes is triggered by genetics and unknown environmental factors. Nothing you do causes it. Type 2 diabetes is influenced by both genetics and lifestyle. Major risk factors include family history, age, ethnicity, being overweight, and inactivity. Extra body fat, especially around the waist, increases insulin resistance. Healthy eating and regular exercise can lower your risk even if you have a genetic predisposition. Knowing your risk factors empowers you to take action. Early symptoms of diabetes can be subtle, but are important to catch. Watch for frequent urination, constant thirst, unexplained weight loss, and extreme hunger. Fatigue, blurred vision, slow healing wounds, and frequent infections are also warning signs. High blood sugar can cause dehydration and drain your energy. If you notice several of these symptoms, see a doctor for a simple blood test. Early diagnosis is key to preventing complications. Managing diabetes is a daily challenge, not just about food choices. It requires constant monitoring, medication, and planning. Every meal, activity, and stressor matters. The emotional toll is real. Burnout, anxiety, and social stress are common. Social events and travel can be tricky, and the fear of complications is always present. Regular checkups and costs add to the burden. Support and resilience are essential for living well with diabetes. Diabetes isn't just type 1 or 2. Gestational diabetes affects some women during pregnancy. It's caused by pregnancy hormones making insulin less effective, and usually resolves after birth but needs careful management. Gestational diabetes raises the risk of complications for both mother and baby, and future type 2 diabetes. Rare types like MODY are genetic and often misdiagnosed, requiring different treatments. Some medical conditions or medications can also cause secondary diabetes. Understanding all types helps ensure proper diagnosis and care. Attention deficit/hyperactivity disorder, or ADHD, is a neurodevelopmental disorder. It affects the brain's executive functions, high-level mental skills that help us plan, pay attention, and regulate our emotions. For people with ADHD, these skills are impaired, making everyday tasks challenging. Core symptoms include inattention, hyperactivity, and impulsivity. ADHD differs from normal distraction by the severity, frequency, and persistence of these behaviors, impacting daily life. ADHD presents in three ways or presentations. These are based on prominent symptoms: inattention or hyperactivity impulsivity. The first is predominantly inattentive. People may be disorganized. The second is predominantly hyperactive impulsive. A person feels a constant need to move. Finally, the combined presentation. This is the most common type of ADHD. They experience the dual challenge of a mind that is both restless and easily distracted. ADHD doesn't disappear with age. While hyperactivity may lessen, adults often experience internal restlessness. Challenges with focus become prominent, impacting career, relationships, and finances. Impulsivity can lead to spending sprees or career changes. Diagnosis in adulthood offers understanding, enabling coping strategies and a life that works with, not against, their brain. ADHD profoundly affects a person's inner world, shaping their emotional experiences and their sense of self. One significant aspect is emotional dysregulation, having difficulty managing emotional responses. People with ADHD often feel emotions more intensely, with low frustration tolerance and sudden emotional outbursts. This is linked to executive function challenges. The brain's emotional brakes are less effective. This inevitably impacts self-esteem. Constant negative feedback leads to internalized self-doubt. This can cause deep feelings of shame and inadequacy. The constant struggle often co-occurs with anxiety and depression. Understanding this is crucial for compassionate support and healing self-worth. ADHD is one of the most misunderstood medical conditions, plagued by stereotypes that cause significant harm. This stereotype overlooks many individuals, particularly girls and adults, whose ADHD presents primarily with inattention. Another damaging myth is that ADHD is not a real medical disorder but simply an excuse for bad parenting. ADHD is a neurobiological condition with measurable differences in brain structure, function, and chemistry. The idea that people with ADHD cannot focus on anything is also a misconception, as many can exhibit hyperfocus. The belief that medication is an easy way out is a harmful stereotype that creates stigma. For many, medication can be life-changing, helping to correct neurochemical imbalances. Overcoming these stereotypes is essential for creating a society that understands and supports those living with this condition. To truly appreciate why ADHD presents such a profound challenge, it helps to take a brief look at what is happening inside the brain. Modern neuroscience, through advanced imaging techniques like fMRI, has shown us that there are consistent and measurable differences in the brains of people with ADHD compared to those without. These differences are primarily found in the structure, function, and chemistry of specific brain regions that are responsible for executive functions. It's not about having a damaged brain, but rather a brain that is wired and develops differently. This neurobiological basis is the reason why ADHD is considered a real medical condition, not a behavioral choice. One of the key areas implicated in ADHD is the prefrontal cortex. This is the region at the very front of the brain that acts as our high-level command center. It's responsible for planning, decision-making, moderating social behavior, and focusing attention. In individuals with ADHD, this part of the brain can be slightly smaller and shows delayed maturation. It also tends to be less active when a person is trying to perform tasks that require sustained concentration and organization. This underactivity helps to explain why people with ADHD struggle to filter out distractions, inhibit their impulses, and stay on track with their goals. Their brain's CEO is essentially under-resourced for the job. The communication within the brain is also different. This communication relies on chemical messengers called neurotransmitters, which carry signals from one nerve cell to another. Two neurotransmitters are particularly important in ADHD: dopamine and norepinephrine. Dopamine is crucial for motivation, reward, and regulating attention. Norepinephrine is key for alertness, arousal, and executive function. In the ADHD brain, the system that regulates these neurotransmitters is less efficient. There may be lower levels of these chemicals available, or the receptors that they bind to may not function as well. This imbalance disrupts the signaling within the executive function networks, making it harder to stay engaged with tasks that are not inherently rewarding or stimulating. This is precisely why stimulant medications are often so effective for ADHD. These medications work by increasing the availability of dopamine and norepinephrine in the brain's synapses. This helps to turn up the volume on the signals within the prefrontal cortex, improving communication between brain cells. The result is an enhanced ability to focus, a reduction in impulsivity and hyperactivity, and an overall improvement in executive function. Understanding this neurobiology is empowering. It moves the conversation away from blame and shame, and towards a clear scientific understanding and the rationale behind its most effective treatments. When we start to explore the scientific connection between diabetes and ADHD, we encounter a fascinating and complex question: which comes first? Is it possible that having ADHD, with its inherent challenges in organization and impulse control, increases a person's risk of developing type 2 diabetes? Or could it be that the metabolic dysfunction of diabetes itself can create or worsen symptoms that look just like ADHD? For a long time, these conditions were viewed in isolation, but a growing body of research is now pointing towards a bidirectional relationship. This means the influence can travel in both directions, creating a complex feedback loop that can be difficult to untangle, but is crucial for us to understand. Let's first consider the path from ADHD to diabetes. The core symptoms of ADHD, particularly executive dysfunction and impulsivity, can create significant barriers to maintaining a healthy lifestyle. Think about what is needed to prevent type 2 diabetes: consistent healthy eating, regular physical activity, and maintaining a healthy weight. These all require planning, routine, and impulse control. For someone with ADHD, this can be incredibly challenging. Impulsive eating, a preference for the instant gratification of high-sugar or high-fat foods, and difficulty sticking to an exercise routine can all contribute to weight gain and insulin resistance over time, laying the groundwork for the development of type 2 diabetes. Now let's look at the connection from the other direction. Could having diabetes contribute to ADHD-like symptoms? Absolutely. The brain is an incredibly energy-hungry organ, and its preferred fuel is glucose. When blood sugar levels are unstable, swinging from high to low, the brain's fuel supply becomes erratic. This can have a direct and immediate impact on cognitive function. Periods of high blood sugar or hyperglycemia can lead to mental fogginess, lethargy, and difficulty concentrating. Conversely, periods of low blood sugar or hypoglycemia can cause irritability, anxiety, and a scattered, unfocused state of mind. These cognitive effects can very closely mimic the inattention and emotional dysregulation seen in ADHD. Ultimately, trying to determine a single starting point might be missing the bigger picture. For many individuals, it is likely a tangled web of influences rather than a simple cause and effect chain. A person might have a predisposition to both conditions, with one exacerbating the other over time. The stress and cognitive load of managing one condition can worsen the other, creating a downward spiral. Recognizing this bidirectional link is a critical paradigm shift. It encourages healthcare providers to look for signs of ADHD in their patients with diabetes who are struggling with management, and to be mindful of metabolic health in their patients with ADHD, creating a more holistic and integrated approach to care. One of the most compelling scientific theories linking diabetes and ADHD lies deep within our brain chemistry, specifically with a neurotransmitter called dopamine. As we discussed earlier, dopamine is a key player in the ADHD brain, regulating attention, motivation, and the brain's reward system. People with ADHD often have a dopamine system that functions differently, leading them to seek out activities that provide an immediate sense of reward and stimulation. This is a fundamental aspect of the condition's neurobiology. What is fascinating is that recent research has revealed that dopamine is not just a brain chemical, it also plays a vital role in how our body manages metabolism and insulin. This discovery opens up a whole new way of thinking about the connection. In the pancreas, the very organ responsible for producing insulin, there are dopamine receptors. Studies have shown that dopamine can influence how much insulin is released in response to glucose in the blood. Similarly, in the brain, dopamine signaling in regions like the hypothalamus helps to regulate appetite and energy balance. This suggests that the same neurochemical system that is dysregulated in ADHD is also intricately involved in the body's core metabolic processes. It provides a plausible biological bridge, a shared pathway that could help explain why a person with one condition might be more vulnerable to developing the other. This connection may also help explain the food-related behaviors often seen in both conditions. The ADHD brain is constantly seeking dopamine. Highly palatable foods, especially those high in sugar and fat, are known to trigger a significant release of dopamine in the brain's reward center, creating a powerful feeling of pleasure and satisfaction. For someone with a dopamine-deficient brain, this can lead to cravings and a pattern of using food as a form of self-medication to temporarily boost focus and mood. This behavior, over the long term, can directly contribute to weight gain and insulin resistance, the primary drivers of type 2 diabetes. Therefore, the dopamine hypothesis suggests that the link between ADHD and type 2 diabetes might not just be behavioral but deeply rooted in our shared neurobiology. A dysregulated dopamine system could create a double whammy effect. On one hand, it drives the impulsive and reward-seeking behaviors that increase the risk of diabetes. On the other hand, it may directly interfere with the body's ability to regulate glucose and insulin effectively. This theory is a powerful example of the mind-body connection, showing how a single chemical messenger can have profound effects on both our mental focus and our physical health, tying these two seemingly separate conditions together at a molecular level. Blood sugar fluctuations directly affect brain function. The brain needs a steady glucose supply for concentration, memory, and emotional regulation. Blood sugar swings can cause cognitive chaos, mimicking ADHD symptoms. High blood sugar causes brain fog, while low blood sugar triggers stress, causing agitation and inattention. This overlap creates diagnostic challenges. Stable blood glucose is paramount for cognitive function. Another emerging area of scientific inquiry that connects diabetes and ADHD is the role of chronic, low-grade inflammation. Inflammation is a natural and essential process that our body uses to fight off infections and heal injuries. It is the reason a cut becomes red and swollen. However, sometimes this inflammatory response can become chronic and systemic, simmering at a low level throughout the body over a long period. This type of inflammation is not helpful. Instead, it is now understood to be a key contributing factor to a wide range of chronic diseases, including type 2 diabetes. And there is growing evidence that it may also play a role in neurodevelopmental conditions like ADHD. In the context of type 2 diabetes, the link to inflammation is well established. Excess body fat, particularly visceral fat stored around the organs, is not just inert tissue, it is metabolically active and releases pro-inflammatory chemicals called cytokines. These cytokines circulate throughout the body and interfere with the action of insulin, contributing directly to insulin resistance. This creates a vicious cycle. Obesity promotes inflammation, which promotes insulin resistance, which can lead to type 2 diabetes. The condition itself, with its high blood sugar levels, can further fuel this inflammatory fire, creating a persistent state of internal stress on the body's systems. What is particularly intriguing is that recent studies have also found elevated levels of these same inflammatory markers in the blood of both children and adults with ADHD. This suggests that a subtle, ongoing inflammatory process might be affecting the brain. This neuroinflammation could potentially disrupt the development and function of key brain networks, particularly those involving the prefrontal cortex and the dopamine system. It might interfere with the production and regulation of neurotransmitters, contributing to the symptoms of inattention, hyperactivity, and emotional dysregulation that are characteristic of ADHD. The idea that a low-grade inflammatory state could be a common soil from which both conditions can grow is a compelling area of research. This theory of a shared inflammatory pathway provides another powerful mind-body link. It suggests that factors that promote inflammation in the body, such as a poor diet, lack of exercise, chronic stress, or poor sleep, could potentially increase the risk or severity of both type 2 diabetes and ADHD. Conversely, it implies that strategies aimed at reducing inflammation, like eating an anti-inflammatory diet rich in fruits, vegetables, and omega-3 fatty acids, getting regular physical activity, and managing stress, could have a dual benefit. These lifestyle changes could potentially help to improve insulin sensitivity while also supporting healthier brain function, tackling both conditions at a fundamental biological level. While the biological connections are fascinating, we cannot overlook the powerful role that lifestyle and behavior play in linking diabetes and ADHD. This is where the theoretical science meets the reality of daily life. The very behaviors that are made more difficult by ADHD are often the same behaviors that are critical for preventing or managing type 2 diabetes. This creates a challenging intersection where the symptoms of one condition can directly undermine the management of the other, establishing a powerful and often frustrating cycle for the individual caught in the middle. It is a collision of neurological wiring and metabolic necessity. Let's start with sleep. Poor sleep is a well-known risk factor for insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes. When you are sleep deprived, your body's hormonal balance is thrown off, making it harder to regulate blood sugar. At the same time, sleep problems are incredibly common in people with ADHD. The restless, wired ADHD brain often has difficulty shutting down at night, leading to delayed sleep onset, frequent nighttime awakenings, and a non-restorative sleep pattern. This chronic sleep deficit, driven by ADHD, can therefore directly increase the physiological risk for developing diabetes. It is a clear example of how a core feature of ADHD can pave the way for a serious metabolic condition. Dietary habits provide another stark example of this collision. Effective diabetes management relies on mindful eating, meal planning, and making consistent, healthy food choices. ADHD, however, can make this a constant battle. The impulsivity of ADHD can lead to spontaneous purchases of unhealthy junk food, while the need for dopamine can drive cravings for sugary or fatty items. Furthermore, the executive function challenges make the process of meal planning, shopping for ingredients, and cooking from scratch feel overwhelming. It is often far easier to opt for convenient, highly processed takeaway meals, which are typically detrimental to blood sugar control and long-term metabolic health. Finally, consider the role of stress. Living with the daily challenges of ADHD can be inherently stressful. The constant struggle to stay organized, meet deadlines, and manage emotional reactions creates a high level of chronic stress. We know that chronic stress leads to elevated levels of the hormone cortisol, which can increase blood sugar levels and promote insulin resistance. In this way, the psychological burden of ADHD can have a direct physiological impact on the body that increases diabetes risk. When you look at these factors together, poor sleep, challenging dietary patterns, and chronic stress, you can see how the behavioral and psychological profile of ADHD creates a perfect storm of risk factors for type 2 diabetes. In the complex web of connections between ADHD and type 2 diabetes, obesity often stands out as a central and powerful mediating factor. It acts as a critical bridge, physically linking the behavioral patterns of ADHD with the metabolic dysfunction of diabetes. As we have established, being overweight or obese is the single most significant risk factor for developing type 2 diabetes. The evidence is also becoming increasingly clear that adults with ADHD have a substantially higher likelihood of being overweight or obese compared to the general population. Understanding why this is the case is key to grasping the full scope of the connection between the two conditions. The reasons for this increased risk of obesity in the ADHD population are multifaceted and tie back directly to the core symptoms of the disorder. Impulsivity plays a huge role, often manifesting as impulsive eating or binge eating episodes. The ADHD brain's struggle with delaying gratification makes it difficult to resist readily available, highly palatable foods. Inattention can lead to mindless eating, where a person consumes large quantities of food without really noticing because they are distracted by something else. This combination of impulsive and inattentive eating patterns can easily lead to a chronic surplus of calorie intake, which inevitably results in weight gain over time. Executive dysfunction also contributes significantly. The skills required for weight management, planning healthy meals, creating shopping lists, resisting impulse buys at the supermarket, scheduling regular exercise, and tracking progress are all executive functions. For a person with ADHD, these tasks can feel like climbing a mountain every single day. The mental energy required is enormous, making it much more likely they will default to easier, less healthy options. Furthermore, the hyperactivity component of ADHD does not always translate into beneficial structured exercise. It might manifest as restlessness and fidgeting rather than sustained physical activity that would help to manage weight effectively. Once obesity is established, it becomes the primary driver of the metabolic changes that lead to type 2 diabetes. Excess fat tissue, particularly around the abdomen, releases inflammatory substances and hormones that disrupt the body's ability to use insulin efficiently, leading to insulin resistance. The pancreas then has to work harder to control blood sugar, and eventually, it may be unable to keep up. Therefore, obesity can be seen as the physical manifestation of the challenges of ADHD, and it is this physical change that then triggers the cascade of events leading to diabetes. This makes weight management a critical intervention point for breaking the cycle between ADHD and diabetes. Scientists are exploring if the link between ADHD and diabetes might be written in our DNA. Both are highly heritable, meaning genetics play a significant role. Researchers are asking if there are common genes or pathways. Finding a genetic overlap would provide evidence of a biological connection. Initial findings are intriguing. Some shared genes relate to the dopamine system. Others are involved in inflammation and cellular energy production. Genes might increase susceptibility, but environment determines expression. This offers a framework for understanding the connection. Both conditions may be manifestations of shared vulnerabilities. Meet Sarah, diagnosed with type 2 diabetes 5 years ago. For years, Sarah felt like she was failing at managing her health, despite her doctor's clear plan. She found it almost impossible to be consistent, feeling ashamed and believing she was lazy. The turning point came during a conversation with a friend whose son had ADHD. A powerful sense of recognition dawned on Sarah. The pieces of her life's puzzle started to click into place. She received a diagnosis of combined-type ADHD. Suddenly her struggles with managing her diabetes were cast in a new light. It was that her brain's executive function deficits were creating a huge barrier. For Sarah, the dual diagnosis was the key that unlocked a more effective way of managing her whole self. David, a construction worker with type 1 diabetes and ADHD, struggled with impulsive eating. Cravings felt irresistible, leading to blood sugar spikes and exhaustion. His ADHD brain craved the dopamine hit from junk food, but his diabetes suffered. Working with a diabetes educator, David learned to manage his impulsivity with strategies like the power of the pause. By delaying cravings with a 15-minute timer and choosing healthier alternatives, he gained control. David tamed his impulsive eating, one pause at a time. Chloe is a 28-year-old primary school teacher who has been managing both type 1 diabetes and ADHD since she was a child. For most of her young adult life, her management of both conditions was, honestly, pretty chaotic. Her bedroom was a landscape of used blood test strips, misplaced insulin pens, and half-eaten snacks she had used to treat low blood sugar. She was brilliant and engaging in the classroom, her ADHD-fueled creativity making her a favorite among her students. But behind the scenes, she was really struggling to keep her head above water. Her blood sugar levels were a roller coaster, and the constant alerts from her glucose monitor felt like just another source of overwhelming noise in her already busy mind. The biggest challenge for Chloe was what she called task initiation. She knew she needed to change the sensor for her continuous glucose monitor every 10 days. She knew she needed to order more insulin before she ran out. She knew she needed to sit down and plan her meals for the week, but honestly, the mental effort required to start these tasks felt monumental. She would procrastinate until the last possible second, leading to stressful, last-minute panics. This pattern left her feeling incompetent and anxious, a stark contrast to the confident teacher her students saw every day. Chloe's life began to change when she embraced the concept of externalizing her brain. She accepted that her own mind was not reliable for remembering things and decided to build a physical system she could trust. She created a dedicated diabetes station in her kitchen. It was a small set of drawers clearly labeled with everything she needed: test strips, sensors, needles, hypo treatments. Everything had a home, so she never had to waste mental energy searching for supplies. Above the station, she put up a large whiteboard calendar. She used different colored markers to schedule everything: order insulin, change sensor, doctor's appointment. The visual cues were a game changer. She also discovered the power of body doubling. She asked her flatmate if she could simply sit with her on Sunday afternoons while she planned her meals and organized her supplies for the week. Her flatmate would just read a book or be on her laptop nearby. The simple presence of another person provided just enough gentle accountability to help Chloe stay on task and fight the urge to procrastinate. By creating these external support systems, Chloe took the pressure off her own executive functions. She transformed her management from a source of chaos and shame into a calm, predictable routine, allowing her to thrive both in and out of the classroom. Mark, a librarian, was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. Managing his health felt impossible. His attempts were sporadic. This all-or-nothing thinking was his biggest obstacle. Mark decided to stop sprinting and start thinking of it as a marathon. He focused on building one tiny habit at a time. He would walk to the end of his street and back every day. He was building the routine brick by brick. His first habit was to add a side salad to his evening meal. He linked his new habits to existing ones. This slow, methodical process worked. It allowed him to build a foundation of healthy routines. Success was about the quiet consistency of laying one small brick perfectly every day. Emily, a new mother, was diagnosed with diabetes after her son was born. The diagnosis, sleep deprivation and stress, sent her into a spiral of anxiety. She was constantly berating herself and her inner critic was relentless. Emily's journey of healing began in therapy, where she was introduced to self-compassion, to treat herself with the same kindness that she would offer to a good friend. This shifted her inner dialogue from one of attack to one of support. She joined an online support group and discovered she was far from alone. Emily's awakening was the realization that the fuel for persistence was kindness towards herself. The first step in managing diabetes and ADHD is assembling the right team. This requires a collaborative approach where providers communicate and understand your health. Your core team will likely consist of a general practitioner, an endocrinologist, and a psychiatrist or psychologist. Be proactive in facilitating communication between them. You are the CEO of your health journey. Ensure your team is on the same page. Consider a dietitian or diabetes educator. Advocate for yourself and find providers who are a good fit for you. For a brain that struggles with executive functions, creating routines is a lifeline. Leverage routine to take the mental effort out of diabetes tasks, making them automatic. Build habits to offload work from your prefrontal cortex. Run on the power of established habit, not willpower. Anchor diabetes tasks to existing daily routines using habit stacking. For example, after coffee, I'll check my blood sugar. Make your environment work for you with visual cues. Set up a visible, organized diabetes station. Put medication next to your coffee machine. Embrace technology as your external brain. Use multiple alarms for everything. Explore diabetes management apps with customizable reminders. Outsourcing memory frees up mental energy, reducing cognitive load. Your diet is one of the most powerful tools you have for managing both diabetes and ADHD simultaneously, as what you eat directly impacts both your blood sugar stability and your brain function. The key is to focus on a nutritional strategy that provides a steady supply of energy to both your body and your mind, avoiding the sharp peaks and troughs that can wreak havoc on your glucose levels and your concentration. This means moving away from highly processed foods and simple carbohydrates that cause rapid spikes followed by crashes, which can exacerbate brain fog, irritability, and inattention. The goal is a diet that promotes stability above all else. A foundational principle for this dual-purpose diet is to ensure every meal and snack is balanced with three key components: protein, fiber, and healthy fats. Protein promotes satiety and reduces impulsive snacking. Fiber, found in vegetables, fruits, and whole grains, slows sugar absorption and prevents spikes. Healthy fats from avocados, nuts, seeds, and olive oil stabilize blood sugar and support brain health. A perfect example: grilled chicken as your protein, a large salad with colorful vegetables for fiber, and olive oil dressing for healthy fat. For the ADHD brain, meal planning can feel overwhelming. Try batch prepping on a day when you have energy, like Sunday. Cook a large batch of quinoa, grill several chicken breasts, and chop raw vegetables. Store them in separate containers so you can quickly assemble balanced meals during the week. Another strategy: have 5 to 7 go-to simple meals that you can rotate through, reducing daily decision fatigue. Pay attention to hydration and specific nutrients. Dehydration worsens brain fog and fatigue, so drink plenty of water throughout the day. Keep a water bottle on your desk as a visual reminder. Omega-3 fatty acids from salmon and mackerel are critical for brain function. Minerals like zinc and magnesium support neurotransmitter function. While a food-first approach is best, discuss supplementation with your healthcare team to ensure you are covering all your bases. Physical activity is a cornerstone of good diabetes management, improving insulin sensitivity and blood sugar. For people with ADHD, exercise is also effective for managing symptoms, increasing dopamine and norepinephrine. This can lead to improved focus, reduced restlessness, and better mood regulation. Embrace regular movement for both metabolic and mental health. Overcome boredom by finding genuinely interesting activities. Experiment and try new things. Break down task initiation by making it easy to start. Lay out your clothes the night before. Try the 10-minute rule. Incorporate movement into your day in smaller bursts. Set a timer to get up from your desk every hour. Take the stairs. Add more activity into your day. Every little bit of movement counts. For many people managing both diabetes and ADHD, medication is a critical component of their treatment plan. It is essential to understand that taking medication for these conditions is not a sign of weakness or failure. It is a proactive and evidence-based way to manage underlying biological challenges. Diabetes medications, whether they are oral tablets like metformin or injectable insulin, work to help your body regulate blood sugar more effectively. ADHD medications, typically stimulants or non-stimulants, work by helping to balance neurotransmitter levels in the brain to improve focus and impulse control. Both are powerful tools that can significantly improve your health and quality of life. When you are taking medication for both conditions, coordinated care is paramount. Your psychiatrist and your endocrinologist must be aware of all the medications you are taking. This is because some medications can interact with each other. For example, some older types of antidepressants can affect blood sugar levels, and stimulant medications for ADHD can sometimes affect appetite, which in turn can impact your diabetes management. Your healthcare team needs to have the full picture to make the safest and most effective prescribing decisions for you. Always maintain an up-to-date list of all your medications, including dosages, and share it with every member of your team at every appointment. It is important to recognize the synergistic effect that effective ADHD treatment can have on your diabetes management. For many people, starting ADHD medication is the key that unlocks their ability to manage their diabetes consistently. When your executive functions are better supported, you may find it significantly easier to remember to take your diabetes medication, monitor your blood sugar, plan healthy meals, and stick to an exercise routine. The improved focus and reduced impulsivity can break the cycle of chaotic self-care. If you are struggling with your diabetes plan, it is worth discussing with your team whether optimizing your ADHD treatment could be a crucial first step. Finally, be patient and work closely with your doctors to find the right medication and dosage for you. It can sometimes take a period of trial and adjustment to get it right. Keep a simple log of your blood sugar readings, your ADHD symptoms, and any side effects you experience when starting or changing a medication. This information is incredibly valuable for your doctors and helps them to fine-tune your regimen. Open and honest communication is key. If a medication is causing side effects that you find intolerable, speak up. There are often many different options available, and the goal is to find a combination that helps you feel and function at your best. Managing diabetes and ADHD can feel isolating. Building a strong support system is essential for your well-being. This includes family, friends, and others who share your experiences. Connecting with others can be profoundly validating. Seek out support groups and online forums. Educate your support system to foster empathy. Practice self-compassion. You're dealing with lifelong conditions. Treat yourself with kindness. Focus on the next small step. You are your own most important team member. We have traveled a long way together on this journey of understanding, exploring the separate worlds of diabetes and ADHD, and then discovering the many surprising bridges that connect them. We have seen how biological pathways involving dopamine and inflammation might form a common ground, and how the practical challenges of one condition can directly impact the other. The key message I want you to take away is that this connection is not about adding a second heavy burden. Instead, it is about integration. It is about finally having a complete map that makes sense of your unique experiences and strengths. This knowledge is not meant to overwhelm you but to empower you. For too long, physical and mental health have been treated as separate domains, forcing people to navigate their health in fragments. Understanding the diabetes-ADHD link helps tear down that artificial wall. It validates the very real struggle of managing demanding health routines with a brain wired for spontaneity, not structure. It explains why brain fog from high blood sugar feels so similar to ADHD inattention, and why the emotional roller coaster is so profound. This integrated understanding lets you replace self-blame with self-awareness, and swap frustration for informed, strategic action that addresses the whole you. Think of the real-life stories we shared, from Sarah's lightbulb moment to Mark's steady marathon of building habits. Their journeys highlight a crucial truth. When you understand the why behind your struggles, you can develop the how of your success. Their triumphs weren't from perfect willpower, but from finding strategies that worked with their brains. They used external reminders, built routines slowly, sought support, and treated themselves with compassion. Their stories prove that managing this dual diagnosis is not just possible, but can lead to deeper self-understanding. Therefore, I urge you to view this connection as an opportunity for more compassionate conversations with yourself and your healthcare providers. A chance to seek integrated care that acknowledges the link between mind and body. This is not a life sentence of double difficulty. It is a call to a unified approach to your health. By embracing this knowledge, you're not just managing two conditions, you are embarking on a journey of self-discovery and learning to care for your whole, integrated self. So, where do you go from here? The path forward begins with a single, powerful step, taking an active and informed role in your own health journey. You are the expert on your own body and mind, and this essay is designed to give you the language and the framework to advocate for yourself effectively. Whether you are speaking to your doctor, your family, or yourself, you are now equipped with a deeper understanding of the challenges you face. Use this knowledge to seek out the right kind of support and to build a life that accommodates your needs. Your journey is unique, and you have the power to shape its direction, turning challenges into opportunities for growth and resilience. I want to leave you with a profound sense of hope. Please do not walk this path alone. We have talked about the importance of building your tribe, and I cannot overstate this. Building a strong support network is like building a safety net. It will be there to catch you, support you, and help you get back on your feet, stronger and more determined than before. Finally, always remember that you are more than your diagnoses. You are a person with unique talents, passions, dreams, and a huge capacity for joy and fulfillment. You are creating the space for the rest of your life to flourish. The journey may be challenging, but it is also one that can lead to incredible self-awareness and strength. Thank you for joining me. Be well and take care.